Now we begin the English language transmission from Pyongyang, the capital of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. In opening your main chorus, sung as General Kim Jong-il.
You're waiting for the Voice of Korea. Today's programs will begin with the news. After the news, joint leader forced the employment of Sushinsu in the day 1 town of Chapter 13 towards Mount Pakbu from the release of the great leader Kim Il-sung with a century. And in an account, calling it a cornstarch factory. Next an account, principle of a revolution reflected on a poem. And then an article, national independence is the inevitable cornerstone of the Korean reunification movement. And finally an account, U.S. involvement in the fabrication of the conspiratorial co-product. And between the programs, you'll enjoy some songs. Now here is the news. The Russian Nakhotko format publishing house published in book form the great leader Kim Il-sung's famous work, Let us carry out the great leader Comrade Kim Il-sung's instructions for national unification on occasion of the 10th anniversary of the publication of the June 15th Inter-Korean Joint Declaration. The chairperson and vice chairman of the Party for Peace and Unity of Russia, the Deputy Secretary General and the Director for International Affairs of the Democratic Party of Equatorial Guinea, and other members of the leadership of different other foreign political parties, and the Secretary General of the Bangladesh Korea Friendship Solidarity Committee recently visited the DPRK embassies in their countries and congratulated the 46th anniversary of the great leader Kim Il-sung's start of work at the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. They present flower baskets with the famous pictures of the world leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il standing together and paid homage to them. The speakers praised that today Korea is demonstrating its dignity all over the world as an invincible socialist state respected by the progressive humanity, thanks to the outstanding single-based revolutionary leadership of leader Kim Jong-il. A meeting was held in Moscow, Russia on the 16th, in commemoration of the 46th anniversary of the world leader Kim Jong-il's start of work at the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, and the 10th anniversary of the publication of the 25th Inter-Korean Joint Declaration. Hung on the front row of the venue of the meeting were portraits of the great leader Kim Il-sung and respected Kim Jong-il. Present at the meeting were many people, including personages of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, the Russian Association for Friendship and Cultural Cooperation with the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and the United Confederation of Koreans in Russia. Invited there were Korean embassy staff members in Russia. Speakers of the meeting said leader Kim Jong-il's work at the Party Central Committee was a historic event of great importance to the strengthening and development of the Workers' Party of Korea, and those that respected Kim Jong-il has admirably carried forward and developed the idea and cause of the great leader Kim Il-sung over the past 46 years. A message of greetings and letters to leader Kim Jong-il were awaited at the meeting. The Kim Jong-il School for the Study of the Tzu idea in Vienna, Austria, and the Germany-Korea Association issued bulletins respectively on the 15th and the 16th, and the British Association for the Study of Indian Politics, and the British School for the Study of the Tzu idea were given statement on the 18th, on the occasion of the 46th anniversary of the start of the great leader Kim Jong-il's work at the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, and the 10th anniversary of the adoption of the 25th Inter-Korean Joint Declaration. The United Confederation of Koreans in the Far East of Russia and Korean compatriots in Uzbekistan recently had functions respectively to mark the 46th anniversary of the start of the great leader Kim Jong-il's work at the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, and the 10th anniversary of the publication of the 25th Inter-Korean Joint Declaration. Newspapers and broadcasts of different countries recently featured the 10th anniversary of the publication of the 25th Inter-Korean Joint Declaration. The Indian newspaper Samachar Post, in an article titled "Historic Milestone of Korea's Unification," and the Indonesian newspaper Suara Karya, in an article titled "Reunification Issue Commemoration of the Publication of the Inter-Korean Joint Declaration," the article of the Inter-Korean Summit meeting in Pyongyang in June 2000, and said the 25th Inter-Korean Joint Declaration is a milestone of Korea's unification, supported and welcomed by many inter-Korean nations all over the whole world. The Equatorial Guinean television introduced the 25th Joint Declaration on several occasions, and praised the declaration as a unification program to reunify Korea at an early date. Foreign politicians and personages of different organizations, including the General Secretary of the Democratic Party of Equatorial Guinea, the chairman of the National Committee for the Study of the Tzu idea, and the works of General Kim Jong-il, who is chairman of the One-Nation Kim Jong-il get-together in Benin, the executive assistant and liaison officer of the General Secretary of the Pan-African Movement, and the head of the Department of the Faculty of Politics of Damascus University of Syria, issued press statements on the occasion of the 10th anniversary of the adoption of the 25th Inter-Korean Joint Declaration and the month of anti-U.S. struggle from June the 25th to July the 27th. The President of the Supreme People's Assembly of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea issued Decree number 915 on the 23rd. The decree said the Ministry of Education of the DPRK is reorganized into the Commission of Education of the DPRK, in which the Ministry of Higher Education and the Ministry of Common Education are set up. An Indonesian meeting of workers and trade unionists took place at the bank of the River Pedro in Pyongyang, with a monument to the sinking of the U.S. aggressor ship General Sherman, and with the U.S. imperialists on the spaceship Prevost on display on the 23rd, on the occasion of June 25th, the day of struggle against the U.S. imperialists. Speakers at the meeting expressed that the Korean War provoked by the U.S. imperialists 60 years ago was the most shameless and brutalish war, and an aggressive war of dreadful murder and destruction unprecedented in the world history of wars. Today, too, the U.S. imperialists are still occupying South Korea and doggedly hindering our cause of national unification, the speaker said, and denounced the U.S. imperialists for kicking off the senseless confrontation racket against the DPRK in collusion with the South Korean traitors within the group after the sinking of the South Korean puppet's warship. Artists of the Pibada opera troupe of the DPRK continued to perform the opera The Dream and the Red Nation in different local areas of China, receiving loud applause of the Chinese people. The performance was gladly given in Shan City, with long history in Shanxi province in the 19th and the 20s. The Shan Daily, Shanxi Daily, and other national newspapers and televisions of Shanxi province and Xi'an City give a wide publicity to the activities of the Pibada opera troupe every day. A mass meeting took place at the Central News Hall in Pyongyang on the 23rd to welcome Reverend Han Sang-yeol, a pro-unification figure of South Korea. Present there were members of the North Committee for the implementation of the June 50th Joint Declaration, the North headquarters of the Pan-National Alliance for Courage Unification, and the Pan-National Alliance of Youth and Students for Courage Unification and Working People in Pyongyang. At the meeting, An Yong-ho, chairman of the North Committee for the implementation of the June 50th Joint Declaration, made a welcome address. He warmly welcomed the Reverend, who has come to Pyongyang with a pure mind of loving the country and the nation. Reverend Han Sang-yeol, in a speech, said that he has come to Pyongyang from the role of division with a single mind for advanced June 15th. He enumerated the crimes of the war that took power by defeating the South Korean people and are now bringing the clouds of war over the heads of the fellow countrymen, persisting in dictatorship against democracy and opposing independence. Saying June 15th is just reconciliation, peace, and unification, Reverend Han Sang-yeol stressed that our nation is one, but all have in division into two, and must be one and towards a new history of unification and peace. Now the United States continues to antagonize the DPRK while persisting in a campaign of international pressure made concerning the case of the Tsunan. Such a move is gradually surpassed to tolerance limit. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea has already declared that it would regard the present situation as a phase of war and deal with all problems concerning it according to the law of war. At present, an institution concerned is examining in view of the law of war, with additional measures would be taken for American guns now in reformation after being sentenced to a penalty for its infringement upon the sovereignty of the DPRK. The U.S. government requests for immediate release of guns in a humanitarian way, but under the present situation, such a thing is impossible, and on the contrary, the only issue remaining is how the penalty will be ended. If the United States continues to antagonize the DPRK, we cannot but consider the issue of applying the law of war to guns. The National Reconciliation Council in the DPRK made public an open questionnaire on the 23rd, exposing and condemning the crimes of traitor Lee Min-da and his party of South Korea, the vicious enemy to unification and traitors to the nation, who violated and destroyed the June 50th New South Joint Declaration and its action program October 1st Declaration, and directed the inter-Korean relations, creating the prevailing serious situation. The open questionnaire said, the South Korean traitors were not the string of preposterous sophistries, but they have not rejected the New South Joint Declarations and would not, in a bid to mislead the public opinion and get rid of their responsibility for the rupture of the New South relations. The open questionnaire exposed the crimes of the traitorous within the group, who negated the historic New South Joint Declarations, refused the idea of violation itself, the core of the June 50th Joint Declaration, and destroyed New South Dialogue and Cooperation Project. It is stressed that it is a mock and shameless challenge to the public opinion at home and abroad that the South Korean puppet traitors, harshly suppressing the pro-June 50th patriotic organizations for unification and zealous in the confrontation and maneuvers against fellow countrymen, make outbursts that they have not rejected New South Joint Declarations. The U.S. imperialists and the South Korean traitor Lee clique are now zealous in their movements for an aggressive war against the DPRK, conducting frantic most targeted war exercises. On the 15th and the 16th, the South Korean puppet inserted a war figure conducting fighting most targeted war exercise in the area of Goryeo and parts of Gyeonggi province, with the mobilization of troops and various kinds of military equipment under the First Army Corps of the Ground Force, allegedly to cope with somebody's infiltration and provocation. Earlier between the 9th and the 11th, the puppet wore mangas, mobilized all troops and military equipment of the Second Army Corps and frantically conducted war exercise, including wholesale search, reconnaissance, locate, and operation of task force in Suncheon and western areas of South Korean province. On the 21st and 22nd, armed bandits and tank and artillery forces of the South Korean puppet army deployed in the forefront areas such as Rosan-lee and Daejeon-lee of Plaza City, Sukori and Nazan-lee of Gyeongsang County, Jukwon-lee and Inhae-lee of Toewon County of South Korean province, kicked up a war frenzy, firing more than 14,000 bullets and shells. The South Korean puppet military war hawks conducted frantic depth bomb dropping and bombardment exercise in the East Field area for 5 days from the 14th, with the mobilization of over 10 warships, including a destroyer and patrol ship and even helicopters, in cooperation with the First Fleet of the South Korean Puppet Navy and Maritime Police. In the meantime, the planes of the U.S. Imperialists and the South Korean Puppet Air Force are kicking up a row, conducting ground target striking, close air support, detection of air targets, and airlifting exercises almost every day in the sky over Newon, Pyeongchang, Yunze, Suncheon, and Dokdo Island. While strengthening intelligence and surveillance of the means, they sent 5 to 7 or even 10 strategic and tactical reconnaissance planes of different nations on a daily average, including overseas-based RC-135 and South Korea-based U-2 and RC-12 for aerial espionage. The internet newspaper careers in the United States New York Times carried an article titled recalling the excitement of June 15th on the occasion of the 10th anniversary of the publication of the June 15th Stern Declaration. The article stressed the June 15th Stern Declaration is a milestone for unification which pulls down the wall of division and opens a new era of mutual cooperation and cooperation. It demanded the South Korean authorities implement the June 15th Stern Declaration as early as possible. On the other hand, Yang Eun-sik, permanent chairman of the U.S. Regional Committee of the Overseas Committee for the Implementation of the June 15th Stern Declaration, had a special interview with the editor of the New York Times and denounced the South Korean fortress leading the group for their policy of confrontation with the DPRK. Over 1,000 delegates of the U.S. Methodist churches held a meeting between the 13th and the 16th and adopted a proposal to demand conclusion of a peace treaty in the Korean Peninsula and normalization of the relations between the United States and the DPRK. They maintained in the proposal that the United States should sign a peace treaty with the DPRK so as to put an end to the war and establish peaceful diplomatic policy. And they demanded the United States make a contribution to peace and reunification of the Korean Peninsula. They decided to send the proposal to the U.S. President and Secretary of State. The China Sina News Agency and Internet homepage Northeast Network and the Russian Itard Press reported on the 24th and the 22nd the answer of a spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the DPRK to a question raised by the Korean Central News Agency as regards the recent frantic slander of the United States against the DPRK. And thus the enemy news led by Kim Hee-ok, the Voice of Korea. The Daily Golden Sun of the DPRK on the 24th carried a commentary titled Stupid and Clumsy Evasion of Responsibility. The commentary said, some days ago, the spokesman for the South Korean Ministry of Unification, William Nelson, the spirit of the June 15th Stern Declaration is impaired not by the South but by the members. Earlier, the policy planner of the Ministry of Unification showed up in a so-called seminar and ridiculously said they respect the past South-North agreements, including the June 15th Stern Declaration and the October 4th Declaration, and made efforts for the development of the South-North relations. The commentary exposed the senseless acts of the South Korean puppet conservatives, who incited and rejected the June 52 Declaration and the October 1st Declaration from the days before they came to power. The commentary said, the terrorism of Mount Kungang, which had lasted more than 10 years, reflecting the desire of the fellow countrymen for reunification, was terminated unfortunately, and the anti-Karen militias came to a rupture due to the case of the sinking of the puppet's warship, and a touch-and-go situation on the eve of a war has been created on the Korean Peninsula. It is an inevitable phenomenon under the administration of the Lenin group, desperately keeping up the racket of confrontation and war in war with outsiders, while refusing to develop dialogue and relations between the North and the South. Not content with the rupture of inter-Korean relations, the South Korean voters are zealous in the racket of confrontation, shifting the responsibility for the rupture onto others. The Korean people will surely settle accounts with the anti-unification crimes of the traitors. That was the commentary, stupid and clumsy evasion of responsibility, carried in the daily road scene of the DPRK on the 24th. This is Voice of Korea.
Dear listeners, now is the time for broadcasting the reminiscences of the great leader President Kim Il-sung. Today we present the fourth installment of the Section 2 in the dear world town of Chapter 13 towards Mount Victor. We held a briefing which explained the condemnation of the East Unit. Our unit would occupy the battery on the eastern hill, and then they saw the enemy in the town by attacking in the direction of Dananmen and Xiamen. The Chinese anti-Japanese units would attack in the direction of Dongmen and Beimen. We also planned the People's Revolutionary Army's small unit attacks on Sanshuzhen and Wanlianhe or Wanlianshan the day before the main attack, in order to divert the attention of the enemy, which was intent on defending the town. I could add that our battle preparations were satisfactory. We were confident that the battle would end in our victory. Contrary to our expectations, however, we faced serious difficulties at the outset. This difficulty was caused by the anti-Japanese units, which failed to keep the time of assembly or acted arbitrarily. From excessive enthusiasm, Li Yongbin's detachment advanced directly to Dongmen, instead of coming to the designated spot of the assembly area at Jiangchengou, while Wang Xing's unit did not arrive at the appointed hour of assembly. All this irritated me almost beyond endurance. I sent out my orderly to discover what had happened then, and waited for more than an hour, but Wang Xing's men failed to show up at Jiangchengou. The date and the hour of the attack was not an arbitrary decision. The attack had been timed after a full discussion with Wang Xing and all the other anti-Japanese unit commanders about good and bad omens. The commanders of the anti-Japanese units had been restrained in timing by superstitious considerations. The detachment commander was preoccupied with numbers representing the date and hour of attack. He insisted that according to the theory of the yin and yang, an even number stood for yin and odd number for yang, and that therefore, to be lucky, important events should be full-timed for odd numbers, such as 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on, to make up the date and hour of attack. We had not taken the theory of the yin and yang into consideration when we decided to attack the town at 1 hour on the 17th, which coincided with the first of the 7th month by the lunar calendar to Li Yongbin's satisfaction. Wang Xing, who had arrived at Jiangchengou earlier with some of his units, was greatly embarrassed and in the end made all his men face the eastern sky and chant something like a spell with hands clasped. He must have been wishing for divine help. The other unit commanders reproached the old man for his unit's treachery. Wang Xun was sweating heavily. I felt pity for the old commander who was at a loss about what to do, extracting the critical eyes of his colleagues. Strange to say, I wished I could speak in his defense rather than call him to account. Neither was more enthusiastic about the arrangement of the joint operation than he. Neither had offered more creative opinions than he had. He had reiterated to his men the importance of keeping the time of operations and observing operational discipline. This provided strong support and encouragement to us as we attached such great importance to a common front with the anti-Japanese unit. The awkward discrepancy which obliged me to feel sympathetic with him lay between his unstinted efforts to effect an alliance with the People's Revolutionary Army and his practical inefficiency which obstructed the development of the operation. Nevertheless, I was in no position to sympathize with or pity anybody. As time passed, my heart contracted, for I was in command of the whole operation. I had fought hundreds of battles, but had never been so irritated and embarrassed as I was. I regretted that I had not given stronger emphasis at the briefing to the need to keep time. I had laid special emphasis on refraining from harming people's lives and property and damaging our relations with the people. I had not wished to see the recurrence in Fusang of the misconduct committed by the men of the anti-Japanese units in the Battle of Dong in County Town, and did not tolerate it. I had not been particularly concerned about the potential delay in the arrival of Wang Xun's unit. The neglected matter caused me the greater shock. The shocking accident, which might reverse the tide of the battle, drove us into a critical situation, which placed us between two alternatives: adopt flexible measures or abandon the battle itself. It was impossible to discard the operation which had been prepared with such great effort. Any cancellation of the attempted attack would dampen the morale of the soldiers of the anti-Japanese unit and the People's Revolutionary Army, a morale which had soared in anticipation of the joint operation. Lack of opiate for Wang Xun's officers and men had caused their delayed move. Many of them were opium addicts. Without smoking opium, they could not march at the required speed. To make the joint operation succeed, we had to send opium to Wang Xun's unit, which was on the march. If we had not taken such emergency measures, the unit would have spent the whole day on their way. After the Battle of Umo County Town, Wang Rinzong had told me that the anti-Japanese units had acquitted themselves comparatively well in the joint operation thanks to opium. At the time I had accepted these words as a mere joke. Learning that the delay of Wang Xun's unit was caused by a lack of opium, I understood that Wang had told me the truth. You've listened to the fourth installment of Section 2 in the Dear World Town of Chapter 13, Towards Mount Pasteur, from the reminiscences of the great literature from Kim Il-sung with the century, the first voice of Korea.
Now bring the account, calling at a cornstarch factory. They did not know their crossing Kim Il-sung sold the then hidden cornstarch factory in the northern region of Korea in June 1978. His visit to the factory has some reason. As for Haeryong, the local people grew maize in the main. Only when maize was in good use could the diet of the local people be improved and could they lead a happy life. For the improvement of the living standards of the Haeryong people, President Kim Il-sung visited a far-off northern region. Recalling the days, Lee Kwi-ok, deputy to the Supreme People's Assembly, said,
위대한 실용 김일성 동지께서는 기름이 유로 농장들을 현지화하신 데에 당시 기름 국산농장을 먼저 찾아주셨습니다. 한국의 유도로 말하지 않은
The group leader Kim Il-sung called it a dam having concept structure after the state gardens with different farms in Saigon. When they met the leader who had come to the factory in the forest in Indonesia despite the frightful weather of summer, the emotion of the workers was indescribable. Saying he had come to discuss the problems on the management of the factory, the president looked round the production site. At that time, the southern cornstarch factory was producing yellow sweets from maize. But the output was too small to provide the local children and people with enough candies, cakes and toffee. After looking round every production process and acquainting himself in detail with the actual situation of the factory, he said, as maize is the main crop in Haidian, which harvest of maize would make it possible to turn the cornstarch factory at full capacity. And he further said he would send demobilized soldiers trained in the army and planned for making a great success in maize farming and processing. That day, the president talked about the reserves for increased production and said, as it is a combined food processing factory using maize as the raw material, the factory should lay out a wider green area, plant trees to afforest the compound of the factory, and pay due attention to hygiene and culture. Not only that, President Kim Il-sung showed his warm paternal care to the workers living. Learning that the factory is a little far from the residential area, he worried about the workers' traffic issue and took measures to send commuter buses and move the nursery into the factory so that the mothers with babies could work without worry. Not content with it, President Kim Il-sung said that for innovations in the cornstarch factory, conditions
represented the ardent love of Kim Il-sung for the country and nation, his burning hatred for the enemy, and his firm resolve to bring a new spring of independence to the land of golden tapestry through an unyielding struggle, generation after generation, even if the body might be torn to pieces. The great will of Kim Il-sung for national liberation was realized by his son, President Kim Il-sung. Through the bloody enthusiasm from the struggle, President Kim Il-sung liberated Korea and built a socialist Korea on its land. The patriotic tradition of the Manjung family is being fully carried on by the great leader Kim Jong-il today. Listening to Encounter with Attention, Principle of the Revolutionary reflected on Napoleon. This is Voice of Korea. We now present an article under the title, National Independence is the Invariable Cornerstone of the Korean Reunification Movement. What is important in advancing the course of Korea's reunification victoriously at present is to fully adhere to the principle of solving the issue of reunification on the stand of national independence. The master of the destiny of the nation is the nation itself, and nobody except the nation can shape the destiny. Accordingly, the issue of Korea's reunification can be solved only by its master, the Korean nation. The outside force, the divider of Korea and obstructor of reunification, has persistently obstructed the reunification movement of the Korean nation, seeking for their criminal and greedy interests in the division of the Korean peninsula and the inter-Korean confrontation. It is the fundamental factor hindering the uniform development and prosperity of the Korean nation with outstanding resources and wisdom and excellent creativity when many countries and nations of the world are advancing towards progress and prosperity. For national reunification and prosperity of the nation, it is necessary to prove strength with a fellow countrymen not depending on outsiders. Especially, it is important to keep the trend of placing the dignity and interest of the nation above all other things and discussing and solving the issue of the country's reunification between the nations. The June 15th Joint Declaration, adopted in 2000, is based on the idea of national independence on solving the issue of reunification, the national issue, with the strength of the Korean nation itself in keeping with its will and interest without interference of outsiders. By our nation itself is an independent idea and common idea of the nation, reflecting the will and demand of the nation. It is firmly kept in the hearts of the entire fellow countrymen as the motto for shaping the destiny of the nation. When the Korean nation pulls its strength, there is nothing to fear and nothing impossible in the world. But our nation itself is and will be the banner of the times, to be held high by the Korean nation forever. The acts of the present South Korean rulers, who are turning back on the trend of the times and totally negating the reunification movement by our nation itself in league with outsiders, are treacherous acts against the stand of national independence. Only ruin will be given to traitor Lee Myung-bak and his group of South Korea, who are turning back on the nation and staking their fate on confrontation and war. National independence is the general victory of national reunification, and its validity has already been confirmed. The entire Korean nation in the north and the south and abroad will regard national independence as the invariable cornerstone of reunification movement and accelerate the grand march of national reunification more vigorously. We will listen to an article entitled, National Independence is the Invariable Cornerstone of Reunification Movement.
Now we bring a new song. It is a female solo and pangchang. We will play forever, written by Yoon Do-gun, composed by An Jong-woo, and accompanied by Kang Sol-ho. The soloist is Lee Dong-hee.
recent account in the Times, U.S. involvement in the fabrication of material co-products. Seriously, the United States stretched out its tentacles deep into the conspiratorial plot engineered by the South Korean conservative authorities, linking the case of the sinking of the warship Tsunami to the DPRK. Soon after the sinking of the warship, the U.S. administration pretended to take cautious wait-and-see attitude towards the investigation results. But it was a deception. In order to describe the case of the sinking as an act of the North and make it a fait accompli, the United States announced its will to join in the investigation into the case and sent so-called experts to South Korea. The U.S. Forces Commander in South Korea, Sharp, went to the South Korean Puppet Ministry of National Defense to see how the investigation was going on. He instigated the puppets to fabricate the North's involvement in the case, saying they would render the highest level assistance for the salvage of the warship. The United States involved themselves more deeply in the alleged investigation into the case, rendering technical assistance, sending analyzing expert teams, and mobilizing equipment and troops of the U.S. forces in South Korea. It was to lead the investigation into the case as they desired and fabricate false evidences. After the United States sent its investigation team to South Korea, the puppet authorities refused to open to the public many key evidences, including some motion pictures of the warship at the time of sinking and record of communications with the U.S. imperialist aggression forces under the pretext of leakage of military secrets. The U.S. motives for fabricating the case became more undisguised as the investigation was accelerated. Even before the course of the case was clarified, top officials of the U.S. administration began to openly mislead the public opinion, saying possibility of North's torpedo attack is certain more than 99%, and they fully believe the results of investigation. On the day before the announcement of the result of the investigation, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State said the U.S. government was involved in the investigation into the cause in every aspect, and it will strongly support the results of the investigation. Thus, the United States actively encouraged the South Korean puppets to make public the fabricated results of investigation at ease. Facts prove that the results of investigation into the case are nothing but a conspiratorial co-product fabricated by the United States and the South Korean puppets to realize their sinister intention to stifle the DPRK. However, the truth can never be concealed. Some time ago, the Russian Internet News Agency Rossiya Novosti quoted a source of the reconnaissance of the Russian Pacific Fleet as saying the warship Tsunami had been sunken by a U.S. torpedo attack, and the Indonesian newspaper Kompas in an article said there is raised the possibility of the sinking of the warship by a U.S. submarine. Whatever attempt the United States may make to distort the truth of the case, its dirty colors will be revealed, and it can never escape the curse and denunciation of the world people. You've been listening to an account under the title, U.S. Involvement in the Fabrication of the Conspiratorial Co-Product. This is Voice of Korea.
Dear listeners, with this, we conclude the English language service of Voice of Korea from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Voice of Korea presents its English language service for Europe between 13 and 14 hours UTC, between 15 and 16 hours UTC, between 18 and 19 hours UTC, and between 21 and 22 hours UTC on 13,760 kHz and 15,245 kHz. For North America, between 13 and 14 hours UTC, and between 15 and 16 hours UTC on 9,345 kHz and 11,710 kHz, and for Northeast Asia between 1 and 2 hours UTC and between 3 and 4 hours UTC on 7,200 kHz, 9,345 kHz and 9,730 kHz. Goodbye, this is Pyongyang.